Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now we are going to discuss the graph of tangent x. Tangent is the ratio between sine and cos, or you can say opposite and adjacent. And now let's see what we have to discuss here. That before considering the graph of y is equal to tangent x, we have to understand one thing, that 1 upon 0 is infinite and 1 upon infinite is 0. That is very important to understand, because without this concept it will be difficult to understand the graph of tangent x. So another thing, that like y is equal to 1 upon x, if this is the graph, and if x is equal to 0, then y is equal to 1 upon 0, that will be infinite. Similarly, x will be infinite when y is equal to 0. So if we look at the graph of y is equal to 1 upon x, if I roughly sketch it here, now on this line of y-axis, x is equal to 0 here. So when x is 0, y is infinite. So the graph meets y-axis at infinite. We don't know what happens at infinite, so the graph moves this way. As the values of x, y decrease, it graph appears like this, and when y is 0, then x is infinite. So in such situations, the graph seems to get closer to this line, but it never touches this line, because wherever it will touch, that will be the value of x, whereas we are telling that x is infinite. So it will not touch the graph at any visible point. So in such situation where the graph gets closer to a line but never touches the line, then that line is called asymptote. This is what we need to know. And now let's relate it to the graph of y is equal to tangent x. Then y is equal to tangent x, then you know that tangent x means sine x over cos x, sine over cos. So when x is equal to 0, then y is equal to sine 0 over cos 0. Sine 0, value of sine 0 is 0 and cos 0 is 1. So this will be 0. When x is 0, tangent x is 0. Now, on the other side, another important point which we have to consider, then if it is 45 degrees, sine 45 is under root 2 over 2, and cos 45 is again under root 2 over 2. Then tangent 45 means sine 45 over cos 45. Both the values are same, under root 2 over 2. So these values are cancelled to give 1. So you can say that tangent 45 degrees is equal to 1. Now tangent 0 is 0, tangent 45 is 1, And now let's look at 90 degrees. When x is equal to 90 degrees, sine 90 is 1, cos 90 is 0, then tangent 90 degrees is sine 90 over cos 90. This is 1 and this is 0, so this is infinite. So tangent 90 degrees is infinite. These 3 points at least, I write them side by side. Tangent 0 is 0, tangent 45 is 1, and tangent 90 is infinite. So considering these three main points, if we look at the graph of um, tangent x, then if I roughly sketch this graph, this is x-axis, this is y-axis. Let's say this angle is 90 degrees and this is 180 degrees, 270 and 360 somewhere over here. Then first of all, 90 degrees. I draw a line here at 90 degrees, so it will be this way. So what will be the behavior of graph? This is 45 degrees and at 45 degrees, value of tangent 45, we have written here, that is 1. So if this is 1, then it will be here. So from 0 to 1, it moves this way. This is a curved path. And then at 60 degrees, its value is 1.73. So this is approximately less than 2. And after that, the value of tangent increases rapidly, and it appears to get closer to this line of 90 degrees, but it does not touch this line. So this line, then we can say that line at 90 degrees, that is asymptote of the graph of tangent x. It disappears towards infinity on this side. If we keep on drawing this line, it keeps on moving upwards, but it never appears to touch this line. On the other side, it appears somewhere from this side and it moves this way and it gets away from this line closer to this way, 0. Then if I draw these lines here, at 180 degrees, this is the line at 180 degrees, and then at 270 degrees, if I draw another line here, then at 360 degrees somewhere over here, that will be the fourth quadrant. Now this is first and second quadrant, and now it moves back in the same way as this one. The similar type of graph will be here. This type of curve will be there, and then once again it appears from this side and reaches 360 degrees. If this is 360 degrees, the graph will be this way. So you can see that this is its first quadrant, this is second quadrant, this is third quadrant, and this is fourth quadrant. Tangent is positive in first quadrant and negative in second one, then positive in third one, and negative in fourth quadrant. Negative means below x-axis it is negative, above x-axis it is positive. So it is positive in first and fourth quadrant, first and third quadrant, and negative in second and fourth quadrant. So this is the way we can consider the graph of tangent x. So once again, in order to understand it more clearly, let's look at it. The graph of tangent x here. So what type of graph we observe here? You can see that this line, you can see how slowly it increases from here. It is not exactly on x-axis. I will zoom it in, and then you will see that this is not exactly on x-axis, and the point where this graph is moving upwards and this is moving downwards, exactly between them there is 90 degrees. The value of 90 degrees is between them. Okay, now look at it. This is not actually touching x-axis at all the points. If we get closer to it, you can find that there is a distance between them. This unit is 10, this is, you can say, 2, and this is 1. So at 45 degrees, you can see that this is about 1 unit here. And if we get more closer, then you will find that it is not touching x-axis. Here you can see that it touches the point only at the origin. Otherwise, it is away from that. But when we zoom it out, then it seems like it is touching x-axis, but it is not. And these points are exactly between these two lines. There is asymptote at 90 degrees. So if we continue this graph, you can look at it, that what type of shape does it have. If I change it, its unit to degrees, then you will find that its graph is like this. Degrees actually, it has its range is very different, so that's why it appears like that. So I think it's better to understand in terms of degrees. So we can change it to the radians as well, but the behavior of graph actually you have to understand. So this is the behavior of the graph. So once again, let's come back to the board here. So it is little difficult to define those points which we have already discussed for sine and cos, that if its amplitude is 2, let's say if it is y is equal to 2 tangent x, there will not be any remarkable difference in the shape of the graph except this value 45. It is one that will be at 2, and obviously all the other values will be multiplied by 2, but difference in the shape is difficult to observe. Similarly, if it is tangent 2x minus okay, simply 2x, then as its one cycle is completed in 180 degrees, that will be completed in 90 degrees. That means this value will become 45 and this will be 90 degrees. Similarly, if minus 30 is there, 30 degrees, then the whole graph will move 30 degrees towards right. And if there is, this is 2x minus 30 plus 4, then the whole graph will move upwards. We have already discussed uh, the changes in a graph due to these values. This is amplitude, this is this is frequency, this is its horizontal translation, and this is vertical translation, and the number along with this, that is amplitude. So it is there is no such amplitude in the graph of tangent x. So this is not very important number here in order to understand the graph, but obviously it has its effect on the graph. So that's it on the graph of tangent x. So further we can understand while practicing questions. So wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.